Okay, so sit yourself on your left and come into a cross leg position. Just have a little wriggle about on your seat bones. Make sure you feel evenly weighted under the seat bones so that you're able to have a little wriggle about, and then when you stop it should feel level, not rather than kind of unlevel. Sometimes you have to do it a few times just to get that sense of kind of true levelness. Sometimes you also have to kind of manually adjust the buttock flesh. If you've got one of these kind of beanbaggy cushions, then it does a lot of the work for you. So just feel that you're sitting evenly. Hold on to your knees and lift and open the chest. Hold on to the knees and then pull yourself from the back of the seat bones right onto the front edge of the seat bones. Draw the belly button towards the spine so you don't overwork the lumbar. Press the perineum down into the floor and then lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Soften your jaw, soften your tongue. Listen to the sound of the breath. Just look at something that doesn't move so that your eyes stay still in the sockets. Focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Release your knees. Bring the hands into Namaste. Press your palms firmly together. Lengthen from the armpits to the elbows. But at the same time, lengthen without moving your elbows close to the body. Move from your elbows into the armpits. Armpits into the elbows. Elbows into the armpits. So there's a subtle difference that happens when you do both. Push the elbows into the heels of the hands, but then lengthen the heels of the hands into the elbows. Lengthen from the heels of the hands to the fingertips, and the fingertips down to the heels of the hands. And then close your eyes. Spend your time listening to the breath, but feeling how that two-way stretch has an effect on the body, but it can make the body tense. So find that two-way extension and then soften into it. That doesn't necessarily mean release the stretch, just to release the intention, soften the intention. Continuing to focus on inhalations and exhalations. Very gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. As you release your arms, palms facing upwards, bring in the backs of the hands down onto your knees, and then raise your head and open your eyes. Just come off your lift and sit yourself down in virasana. So sitting back on your heels, just have a little wriggle into your hips. Have your knees wide enough apart so you can bring your lower ribs through. So just wriggle into right into the inside of the heel, so that there's good contact between the seat bones and the heels. If you struggle to maintain that contact, you can always just sit yourself on a folded blanket. It gives you a bit more space and it gives you somewhere to hit back into, because forward bending isn't just forward, it's got to be forward and back. So the connection between the seat bones and the heels is really, really important, because it's grounding the extension into your heels. So lift and open the chest. Press the shin bones into the shin skin. So activate your thighs. Lift out of the hips up into the armpits. And then hinging at the hips, keeping your back straight, keeping your head lifted. Stretch your arms forwards. But come halfway, just don't go all the way down quite yet. Come forward so you can comfortably keep your seat bones down on your heels. And then sit back on your heels and then lift the front chest as much as you can. Stretch into your arms, keep the front chest lifted. Stretch your arms away, lengthen your arms away, but stay seated on your heels. If you start losing that contact, then use the blanket. Breathe evenly, deeply, listening to the sound of the breath. Keep the front chest lifted and long. Keep lifting the front chest, almost wriggling your lower ribs through so that the lowest ribs kind of come towards your knees. Keep the shins engaged. Keep the seat bones down on the heels. Keep lifting the front chest. Keep stretching your arms away. And then finally bring your forehead down. So observe this stretch, making conscious contact with the floor between the shins and the feet and the seat bones, and then lengthening from the seat bones into the heels, but lengthening from the heels back into the seat bones, lengthening from the seat bones into the hands, and then the hands into the seat bones. Breathe in evenly and deeply, listening to the breath. So this two-way stretch deepens your stretch, but does it overwork it? So at the same time as lengthening from the seat bones into the hands into the seat bones, feel that you can soften into it without losing the extension. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Just feel the pose to start off with. Just feel how straightening the legs helps to open the backs of the knees, open the sensation of the backs of the knees. But just feel how you feel in the shoulders. And then observe how your hands connect to the floor. Maybe it's just the horseshoe of the heel of the hand that makes good contact with the floor. And if it feels heavy in your shoulders, chances are that is the case. So stretch from the heel of the hand into the finger knuckles, from the finger knuckles into the heel of the hand, from the finger knuckles into the fingertips, from the fingertips into the heels of the hand. So the more you activate the surface of the hand in contact with the floor, the easier the pose becomes on the shoulders. Activate the legs, tightening the kneecaps, turning the thighs inwards. Breathe in evenly and deeply. Lift from the hands and the feet up into the hips, but then stretch from the hips down into the feet, down into the hands. And then step forwards, come up into a standing position. Get your blocks and get your blocks for your hands, and then stand with your feet as wide apart as your mat for half uttanasana. So feet as wide apart as the mat. Stamp the big toe into the floor, stretch the little toes out to the side. Lift and open the chest. Stretch your arms down. So make contact with the floor and the feet. Become foot-minded. Press the feet into the mat and then lift out of the feet into the shins, into the kneecaps, into the thighs. Stretch your arms behind you, squeeze in an imaginary box of air, and then keep raising that box of air up towards the ceiling as you hinge at the hips. Keep reaching that box up towards the ceiling, keeping the chest lifted. When you're about halfway, release the arms and then reach down and find the blocks. So being high on the blocks to start off with just means that you get more space to lift the legs. So feel where your weight is in your legs. Is your weight in the balls of the feet, or is it in the heels of the feet? Hit your shins back so that your weight goes into your heels of the feet. Feel that the feet make contact with the floor. If you hit your heels back, maybe that means you need to draw your blocks back so that your blocks are still underneath your shoulders. Lift the shins out of the feet. Lift from the heels up into the seat bones. Lift the seat bones up towards the ceiling, but at the same time lengthening from the seat bones down into the heels. And then project the chest forwards. Abdomen drawing towards diaphragm, towards collarbone. Imagine that someone is stamping your seat bones down onto your heels, down onto the floor. So they're standing behind you and pressing your seat bones down, or your sacrum area down into the heels, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. If you've got a bolster, then place your bolster, you might have to come up to do that, but place the bolster on your lower back and then come forwards so that there's a gentle weight on your feet. So imagine that someone's pressing down where the bolster is, pressing your legs down into the floor. So your legs start to feel slightly heavier, but then lift out of that heaviness, lift up into the seat bones, project the chin and the chest forwards. And if you can come down a little lower, then do. So allowing the heaviness of the legs to be your guide to lifting up. If you can come down to the floor, then do. Just stay with whatever is right for your back. So someone is standing or pressing their elbows down into the sacrum area of your back so that the heels become heavy. So then you can lift the legs more deeply. Lift the front chest forwards. Breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the sound of the breath. So the more you work your legs, the more you can extend into your spine. So are you pressing down into your fingertips? Or can you lift from the wrists up into the armpits? But at the same time, lengthening from the armpits down into the fingertips. Breathe evenly and deeply. Okay, release. Come out of the pose. So just get hold of the bolster if you've got it. Bend your knees if you need to as you come up into a standing position. And then just come into Tadasana. So perhaps there's a feeling of lightness. Breathe evenly and deeply, listen to the sound of the breath. Stretch your arms forwards, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. Breathe evenly, deeply. Press your feet consciously into the floor. And then lift out of the feet up into the hips. And the hips up into the armpits. Armpits into the hands. Hands down to the armpits. Armpits down to the hips, hips down to the feet. Swap the interlock of your fingers. And then raise your arms again. And reset those actions. Lifting up as well as stretching down. Almost as though your body is made of helium and you've got to stretch down in order to stay in contact with the floor. Pressing down, lifting up. And release your arms. Just stay in Tadasana. You might want a belt for this, so just grab a belt and just put the belt over one shoulder and then come back into Tadasana. So gomukhasana, the head of the cow. Spread your toes, lift and open the chest. Press down, lift up, stretch down, stretch up. Stretch your left arm forwards. Keep your right arm where it is. Lengthen from the armpit into the little finger side. Lengthen from the little finger side into the armpit. Both hands. Spread the palm so you can feel the palm skin stretch. Turn the palm all the way out. And then it's really important to turn the arm in the socket. So the upper arm rotate, turn the arm, keep the palm facing up to the ceiling. Rotating that palm, so that arm, the upper arm in the socket, and then assist the arm up the back. Try and get the fingers to touch the neck. Try and walk up towards the neck. Some people get hold of that elbow and pull it in. Try and assist the arm up your back. Stretch forwards, lengthen from the armpit into the elbow, into the wrist, into the fingers. At the same time, in the opposite direction. Raise your arms up into the fingertips, down into the elbow, into the armpit. And then reach down. See if you can take hold with your hand. If you can't, then just take hold of the belt. To get hold of the fingers behind your back. Lift and open the chest. Press the feet into the floor. Consciously press the feet into the floor. Lift out of the floor. From the feet into the knees, into the hips, into the chest. But from the chest down into the hips, down into the feet. After you've been there for a little while, walk the fingers towards each other a little more. Breathe evenly. Lengthening from the armpit into the elbow of that upper arm. From the elbow down into the armpit. Get that stretch of the armpit into the elbow. And then gently release the top arm up towards the ceiling. And then maybe drop the chest a little in order to let the back hand release and then come into Tadasana, but turn the palms outwards. Just feel the freedom of the arms after you brought them away from your back. And then we'll do the other side. So maintain your Tadasana, just put the belt over onto the other side, because you might need it on one side and not the other. I often need it on this side. So just be in Tadasana. Feel the stretch of the palms of the hands. Lengthen from the wrists up into the armpits, from the armpits down into the wrists. From the feet upwards, from the head downwards. Stretch forwards with the right hand. Lengthen from the armpit into the wrist, into the fingertips, and in the opposite direction. Turn the palm, keep the arm high, try and rotate the upper arm in the socket, get the palm of the hand to reach up to face the ceiling. Keep turning that upper arm in the socket, and then assist your arm up your back. Bearing in mind that one side is going to feel different to the other. And then reach up into virasana with that left arm. Feeling that the previous pose is still in the arm. And then reach down, see if you can get hold of your fingers. So today I'm slightly further away than I was yesterday. So you can use the belt. So be in the pose from the feet to the head, from the head to the feet. Keep your hands a little bit closer together. Maybe see if you can get the hands to make contact. So I can just about get there. Extend from the armpit into the elbow of the upper arm, the elbow down into the armpit of the upper arm. Breathing evenly and deeply. Okay, release the top arm and then just very gently release the other arm and then stretch up into Tadasana. Just breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide. Just feel that they're reminiscences of the previous pose. Turn the palms up to face the ceiling, rotating the upper arm in the socket. And then, like you got weights in your hands, lift those weights up to the ceiling. This is where I kind of have to bend my knees slightly because I run out of ceiling height. But keep the arms straight, keep the legs straight. Reach up into the ceiling. Reach to the ceiling, but reach down into the heels, into the feet. Drawing the tailbone in, drawing the belly button towards the spine. And then release your arms. Bring your arms out nice and wide. Just notice that the shoulders feel different in the sockets. Bring your arms in towards your chest and then step or jump your feet apart. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and feet all the way out, and then face the front. Just feel that your feet are in the correct alignment. Heel of the right foot in line with the instep of the left. Feel that the outer edge of the foot makes contact with the floor and the instep lifts of that back foot. And then come over, find the shin, turn the chest up to face the ceiling, look up. So are you just collapsing down? Or can you lift from the feet into the hips, into the chest, into the arms? From the head down into the hips, from the hips down into the feet. From the arms into the fingertips and the fingertips into the arms. Breathe evenly. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the center. Just release your hands for a second and then swap your feet around. So have a look at your feet, make sure they're in the correct alignment, and then just feel that they're in the correct alignment. So when you kind of focus on this idea of lifting up but then lengthening down, does it give you a different feeling in the pose. Just give me a little thumbs up sideways if you're not sure, or down if it's not. Good. So there's some good thumbs up. So it's just this feeling of kind of almost radiating from the inside of the body, isn't it? So lift from the feet up into the hips, up into the chest, out into the arms, and then come down. But at this stage, the pose often feels like it's a downwards collapse. So lift from the feet into the hips, into the chest, into the head, from the shoulders into the arms. Then lengthen from the head down into the hips, down into the feet, from the shoulders into the arms. Turn the chest, look up. Maybe there comes a lightness from that two-way extension. Maybe the legs feel lighter than usual. Come up to the center. Bring your feet parallel and then step or jump the feet back together. And then come back into Tadasana. So the inner edge of the feet together, lift and open the chest. Spread the toes of the left foot. So have somewhere nearby that you can just have for balance if you need it, or you can do this against the wall and do virasana, tree. Spread the toes of the left foot if you can. Pull your shorts up a little so you can kind of have skin, making contact with the skin. Press the feet down, lift out of the feet. Keep that standing leg really firm, and then lift the right leg. Bring the foot as high up into the thigh as you can. Don't let that left leg lose its Tadasana. Press down into the foot, lift out of the foot, up into the hips, up into the chest, and then raise your arms up. So we reach from the feet up into the hips, up into the arms. But again, lengthening from the arms into the shoulders, into the hips, into the foot. And that continual cycle. Release the arms, release the leg, come back into Tadasana. So just adjust, you can, lift your shorts and do on the right side. Go back to the two-way Tadasana. Pressing down into the legs. Notice that how the legs feel different because you've been standing on one, extending the other. Maintain that Tadasana really firmly in that right leg, and then bring the left foot up into the inner groin, to the inner thigh. Pressing from the hip into the foot, from the foot up into the hip, from the hips into the armpits, armpits into the fingertips, raising your arms over your head. Fingertips down into the arms, armpits into the hips, hips down into the feet. And continually cycling, bringing those two actions together. Filling the body with energy and consciousness. Okay, release your arms, release your leg, and then just come back into Tadasana. Raise your arms up, advisable. And then release. And then just come down onto your front. Fingertips underneath your shoulders, turn your toes under, have your feet hip width apart. And then come up into dog down. So keep your hands where they are, keep your feet where they are. Just correct your alignment if you're slightly out of line, but don't walk your hands towards your feet and vice versa. Two-way extension. Extending downwards and upwards all at the same time. So imagining the fronts of the legs are stretching up, the backs of the legs are stretching down. Fronts of the legs stretching up, the backs of the legs stretching down. So that is the mode in which we bring our heels down to the floor. The fronts of the legs lift up, the backs of the legs stretch down. So perhaps see if you can bring your heels a little closer, but without losing that lift of the front legs. Okay, come down onto your knees, sit back on your heels, and then just stretch forwards in Adho Mukha Virasana. Just using this as a recuperative pose as much as an extension. Just maintaining the consciousness of our two-way stretch. Activating from the shins. Feeling that the thighs come to life, lengthening from the knees into the hips. From the hips into the knees. From the hips into the armpits. From the armpits into the hands, from the hands into the armpits, armpits into the hips. And then bring your hands back to your knees and then just sit yourself up. And then come into the cross-legged position. So sitting in half Padmasana or in just cross legs, you can sit on a lift if you need to. Just hold onto your knees and then lift. And open the chest, drive the spine upwards. Just breathe fully and deeply into the lungs, from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs with the in-breath, vice versa with the out-breath. Lengthen from the hips up into the shoulders, from the shoulders down into the hips, from the hips into the knees, from the knees into the hips, knees into the heels, heels into the knees, heels into the toes, toes into the heels. And then draw your chin in to meet the chest. Jalandhara Bandha. Close your eyes if you want to. You can incorporate Mula Bandha, lifting the anal sphincter up towards the navel region, up to the belly button, or up into the diaphragm region. Just focus on those conscious extensions, two-way extensions, from the arms into the hands, from the hands into the arms. Gleaning energy from the inhalation, filling the body with positive energy from the universe. So we're charging up the body for the day ahead. Charging up our energy, but also our positive mental attitude. If you can't connect with the positive mental attitude, connect with the positive energy. So we're like building a battery of energy for our day. Feeling the lightness of the limbs. Okay, and then release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha. Just raise the head, lift the head, open your eyes. Hold on to, just refresh the hold of the knees. Roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Lift the chest. Feel how you have filled the body with positive energy flowing through the body, allowing that to reach up into the head, allowing oxygenated blood to reach up into the brain. Take a good inhalation and then turn to the right side, digging the back hand into the floor so that you maintain your position on the front edge of the seat bones, so that you can lift out of the hips up into the chest, stretch down from the chest down into the hips, lengthening from the hips into the knees into the hips, hips into the knees into the heels into the knees. And then come back to the center grip around your knees, lift and open the chest, and then turn to the left, finding all of those juxtapositional extensions. And then very gently come back to the center. Just get your blanket for your head. Just lay yourself down on your mat. But before we rest, we're just going to hold on to the sides of the mat and then lift up into the feet. Viparita karanhi. So let come down onto the floor, lay down on your back, push your sacrum spine into the floor and lift your legs up towards the ceiling. Lift your legs to the ceiling, but bring your legs down into the sacrum. Lift up and stretch down. Lifting the hips up into the chest, into the armpits. From the armpits down into the hips. Bend your knees, bring your feet into baddhakonasana. Just resting down in baddhakonasana for a moment. Letting the body settle in the openness of the hips. And then bring your knees together, stretch your legs away, just make sure you're in a good straight line. And then allow yourself to rest down into the floor. Just totally let go of the muscles of the body. Unhook the muscles of the arms, unhook the muscles of the legs. Just let the body connect to the floor. Let go of any effort. Just take your glasses off if you're wearing them. And breathe evenly in through the nose and out through the nose. Just observe that feeling of lightness that rises up to the top of the skin. And use the in-breath and the out-breath to distribute that feeling evenly through to the tips of the toes, to the tips of the fingers, to the top of the head. Just maintaining the feeling of the body in contact with the floor, that groundedness, but also enjoying that, basking in the warm glow of positive energy. When you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bend your knees, bring your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock on your back, giving yourself a grounding massage on the spine. Bringing your body back into this pose of shavasana, bringing your energy back into the pose of, not shavasana, of just massaging the back, and then roll onto your right side. Just rub the palms briskly, create heat between the palms of your hands, just, and then cover your palms with your, cover your eyes with your palms. Just look, open your eyes, look into the warm darkness of the palms of the hands. And bring the hands away from the face, just letting the light in gently. And then stretching out the top leg, coming up into a seated position. Sit yourself in cross legs with the hands in Namaste, a final spinal lift. Draw your breath down into the abdomen. Just grounding yourself, grounding your energy. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice. Listen to the sound of the breath. Be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice. The poses, the extensions, the twists, the forward bends, the reclining poses. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel that quite powerful energy from those extensions, from that two-way extension, and it's giving you lots of energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.